We are the women of Women Matters, and it's the very last day of June. And actually, 7 years ago, Mark died quite here in front of me on the sofa. And this morning we did a little commemoration gathering on his grave. So it's a special day also for the Wisdom Factory for Women Matters, because Mark and I together, we founded the website and all these things. So looking back, was a good time. So let's see what we will talk about. It's quite warm. Summer is really coming. And we might talk about what is summer, what meaning does it have for us, and how do we enter into summer, and how have we been so far, and how will we be after the summer break. We will have a summer break. So first, check in. Monia, I give over to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's hot in Vienna as well. And my husband and I, we just had breakfast on the balcony at, I don't know, around 8 o'clock. And then we closed all the windows. And ever since, I have some fresh air. But I don't have a climate, what do you call it? Klimaanlage. Anyway.
Air conditioner.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. I lived in New York 9 years with air conditioners, no problem, but my husband sort of refuses to install one here, so we'll see. As I told you, I had a diamond wedding anniversary celebration on the 21st, and yeah, it was really great, and we enjoyed it very much. And we just found out that we are saving a lot of money by not going on vacation, which we usually did, to one of our lakes, because Austria has become extremely expensive, and it's probably cheaper if you go to the, I don't know, Maldives or somewhere. So it's just ridiculous how the prices. I wonder how they will develop tourism in Austria if they continue like this. I pass on to Beatrice. Hi.
Hi. Sorry, my computer was completely dead, and I was going to wait for it to wake up, and then I decided I'll just join on my phone while it charges. Hello. I am in Portland. Today it's going to be very hot, and so today's the first day. Speaking of air conditioning, it's the first day we're actually turning on the air conditioning. I always have to negotiate with Galen about when we can do that, because he doesn't like to use it unless it's going to be very hot. We have Galen's niece and nephew visiting right now. They're 14 and 15, and we've been spending a lot of time with them and having a lot of fun and not sleeping enough. They love to play board games and video games and hang out with us. And we went to the Renaissance Fair yesterday and watched acrobatic clown shows and jousting. And Gabe, Galen's nephew, who's 15, bought a drinking horn, like a horn from some animal that's been turned into a drinking vessel, and now he's drinking water out of it at home and just delighted, and he keeps picking it up and getting water and then smiling jovially while he drinks his water. So that's been fun to watch. What else have we done with them? We went to a pinball museum on Saturday. Anyway, it's fun to have them around. It's a snapshot into way, way down the road parenting. But they're really good kids, and they've been just really lovely to hang out with, and haven't been, pushing back or complaining too much. And when you ask them to clean up, they do, and I don't know, it's very nice. Anyway, that's my world right now. But I haven't been here for a while. I'm on summer break from my job. until I'm doing an opera in August, and then I go back to the ballet in September. And my summer is completely packed with activities and travel and visitors and things like that. So trying to do, little chores and projects and things along the way, but it's very busy. Anyway, that's probably a longer check-in than I need to do, but hello, and I love all of the peach colors. My mother texted me, she said, everyone's wearing peach. Maybe I should have changed my shirt before I joined. I don't know who hasn't gone, so I pass it along to anyone who hasn't gone, and if not, I pass it along to the conversation.
Okay, I'll go since we said Victoria, you would go last. So I'm here in Vancouver. We left on Saturday morning from Victoria. It takes us 2 days to get here. On the way, we stopped at a friend's buoy so that we could moor there. Fairly close to Vancouver, but it's still a 5-hour trip to go across from the island to here. So you go north first and then we go east. Vancouver Harbor is a very, very pretty city. It's got a beautiful seawall. It's very outdoorsy. It's got good balance of physical activity and wellness. And so you see the vibrancy in people when you're here. The buildings that mostly for residences are extraordinary in their architecture. So it is a visually pleasing place to visit day and night. But it is the West Coast, so it's also a little wild in its own way. For me, this summer, this was one trip that we planned. We normally would go to the States for 4th of July, but we're not going to the States right now. So we're here for Canada Day, and that will be tomorrow. And then school, of course. And then in the middle of like the 3rd week in July, I'll be going to Ottawa. And I'm not going for any good reason except to tag along with my husband because my son is coming from the UK to visit our neighbor who he loves. So we're going to go, I'll be a part of that. And I have family in Ottawa, so that'll be lovely. I finished school end of July. So already it's feeling like we're almost done all this classwork. So I have proposals to do and to get ready for the ethics board. And then we will basically take August off and except for what I have to do to get through the ethics board. So that's sort of our summer. Looking forward to the balance of getting back in the garden. I've been trying to do that. It's a lot of work, but it's very beautiful and worth it. Just in terms of a potential topic, one of the things I keep coming across because it's part of my schoolwork is purpose. Why the humans are the only ones that seem to have purpose, and I'll say seem because I don't want to leave out any smart animals. And I just wonder how important our purpose is to us, and does our purpose make a difference? So that might be kind of fun, and it's a little bit positive, I hope. So that's my suggestion. And over to you, Victoria, to take it away.
Thank you. Sorry, I had to move to another space. Oh, who's that? Oh, it's 2 Beatrices. Okay. All right, a lot coming and going here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just actually I love, well, first of all, I wanted to relate in my check-in, I wanted to relate to your check-ins that Heidi, yeah, that's really beautiful, the anniversary of celebrating the anniversary of Mark's death, and that this is part of his legacy is really beautiful. So I love it that we're actually meeting on that day, and in a way I'd like to preempt the topic of what are we doing this summer, which people have already related in the check-ins to some degree, to that, and connecting it maybe with what Gina said about purpose, that I had a 3.5 hour, that's kind of my immediate check-in because I'm still kind of bleary-eyed. I had a totally unexpected 3.5 hour phone conversation last night with my best friend in New York, and who has had a lifetime of struggle, and is a brilliant, brilliant musician. And he was saying the only thing that keeps him alive is the fact that he can even hear on the radio. He doesn't even have a decent sound system anymore, which is outrageous. But he's anyway, he has a lot of problems. But he was saying that just to hear a beautiful passage of music makes life worthwhile, and that the world is is constantly sort of imploding on him to do his health insurance and manage his finances and organize his things and fix his apartment, and he said he has to keep going back to he's a pianist. He has to keep just going back to the piano and playing, because if a day went by and he didn't have music, he knows he would give up on life. So anyway, that's kind of a weird check-in, but it's I've sort of that's kind of my check-in too, in the sense that I'm realizing again and again that what I do intellectually or creatively is what keeps me going, and that other things are falling by the wayside and they get me very stressed out. But at the same time, this is what I said to my friend last night. I said, what got me through the years after my husband's death and Beatrice's father's death, for a number of years, and I kind of forgot this, not a mantra, but every morning I would wake up and I would think, if this were my last day on earth, how would I spend it? And of course, it is fraught, because then you can procrastinate all the things you don't want to do, because if it's your last day on there, too bad, other people will figure it out. But at the same time, it does give a kind of a thread of purpose and meaning in life that otherwise I think can get lost. And because I so easily fall into complete despair, it's so anyway, in talking to my friend last night, I suddenly remembered that first year when after Conrad died, my husband, how what kept me going was this sense of, if this is my last day, because seeing what his last day was like and seeing what his last year was like. And anyway, so but I will just defer to everybody else. It's just, yeah, that's kind of an odd check-in, but that's my immediate check-in. I'm still bleary from this long phone conversation last night.
Okay, so my check-in is, yeah, it's warm. I like it better warm than cold. It could be a little bit less hot, but it's already gone down from 39 to 36, more or less. So you see, every now and then I do this, but if it's not worse, I don't feel compromised in my power. So that's good. As for the purpose of life, as you know, I think I told you last time that I'm about to study the gene keys, and one of the main keys is the purpose one. And yeah, that's it's sort of lining up what I have actually done. It's only confirming that I have to continue to do that, come out of the confusion and get into clarity and get into let's say, some way of leadership for other people to be inspired or whatever. So I think many of these things, also the astrological card, how do you say card? When I got to know that again in the beginning of the year, it all shows me that I actually did what I was meant to do. Maybe it's not perfect, but I took the right road, and that's good. So what keeps me going is to go get on, because it's not yet finished, the path. It's always some more to encounter, some more to learn. And one of the things to learn is how to manage the water problem, maybe after we have talked, I go up to the vegetable garden, because when it is so hot, I might give them water twice a day, because otherwise, When it rained last week, I thought it had rained enough and I didn't water the day afterwards, and that was not good. That has interrupted the production, no? And so I should have gone. I was too lazy. Now I have the consequence that many of the nice zucchinis went like yellow and so on. Now I have to give more water so that they can continue to grow. I will go to Germany next week for 3 weeks, and I have people here who hopefully do the work of watering everything and taking care of a doggy and cats. So I think the purpose we all have in life is being happy. And I hope we arrive at that in ever more degrees. So far to me. How do you think that you have followed your purpose, what you were meant to do?
Well, Heidi, the thing I just picked up on, and I don't necessarily want to answer the question yet, but the fact that you made an analogy to the garden and the routine and the nurturing. I think that's maybe part of purpose, is that sometimes it's not perfect in its execution, but you nurture it and it can change. So, but at the moment the purpose is the garden. But I think the nurture came in there for me, that you can't rely on everybody else. Sometimes you have to do something. I think the other thing,
oh, go ahead.
that came back to mind is just that it used to be in the hippie days, people graduated from school and then went off to find their purpose and meaning of life. And I think that we may have, maybe you found it at that time, maybe you didn't. But it occurs to me that it's not over when you've just graduated, and that maybe we're constantly looking for it, and maybe we haven't put enough emphasis that there's on this purpose in life, because in my schoolwork, this lack of purpose apparently puts people in a terrible, terrible state of depression and loneliness. So there must be some reason why we have purpose.
Yeah, just jump in. I think the purpose is also unfolding. And you never know exactly what it is, but when you listen into it and then you see after a while, I can look back and say, oh, there is the red line. And I was following the red line without knowing it. So later, you know everything better. Victoria, you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Oh, no. That was just silliness. I was saying as I was watching all of you, I'm resisting this powerful impulse to jump up and look for an apricot colored shirt. That's all it was. I got to put up with this blue, but blue goes well with apricot. Oh, now Beatrice is she's gonna she probably has one right there. I bet she does. Her closet's right behind her. Let's see, now to get serious again, the purpose. Yeah, I think what you said, Gina, that's in fact, my best friend and I both anyway have a predisposition to depression. And what we were talking about was what, if we just vanished off the face of the earth, would it matter? Not like we weren't really talking about that, but the sense that we have, and as we get older, it's becoming increasingly pressing is the desire that we have as we grow older. We have more and more and more that we feel we can contribute in terms of understanding or insight, in terms of, because we're both in the arts. We've had all kinds of insights into things that we would like to pass on. Okay, all right, I'm gonna have to do it next. And that's what's painful, is when you have so much that you want to contribute, but we're in this huge labyrinth that it's, how do you, I have a friend that told me once when I said, I wish I could teach. And she said, oh, that's no problem. She said, just write a general application and send out about 120 per day to various institutions. Just go, back in those days, it was just look in the phone book and just start sending them out. And that was back in the day where you had to pay postage too. And I thought, if I had that kind of energy, I would just go in the street corner and, busk. I'd play the violin on the street corner for the passerbys. It's not that easy. And as Monia was just observing about how expensive Austria's become, everything, I've have a number of friends that have just come back from various travels and saying that, even if you want to do something in terms of like volunteering, like for a charitable organization or some kind of charitable cause, you have to raise a lot of money in advance just to do that. That all of a sudden things are getting really difficult. It's not like, when I read Hemingway's diaries, he's just popping around all over Europe and staying here and staying there and writing his novels and or all the people that lived in New York back in, the early part of the century, the last century, how all the artists could live in New York. Gertraud. So says eine Fülle von something or other. Okay, I'm going to be quiet now and get my shirt. Oh, now Gertraud and I are matching. The Blue Brigade has come in to save the day.
To let you know, Victoria was preoccupied because we are all in this color and she was dark. So Gertraud, it's nice that you come. I was thinking about you and wanted to write to you and asking you how things are going. And maybe you do a check-in and let us know. I know that our conversation we had about your last time when you were here 4 weeks ago, I had people who were contacting me and said it was very, very, very touching when they listened.
Oh,
that's good.
it's,
Go ahead.
it's nice. Yeah. Check in. And sorry, I'm late. It's, yeah. You mean besides the heat? Yeah, it's a lot lately. And on Wednesday, my husband has his 4th treatment. So, and on Thursday, we have a funeral. My cousin died, but she was 87, but still of pancreas cancer. So it was heavy week. Also, what I realized was while being with her, I didn't have much contact with her, but she was like part of the family kind of. And it was like her going or her leaving brought a lot of old topics back to the surface, the unsolved old family stuff. And it also brought our siblings together, because she was the last of her tribe, her family, and they don't have children. And so who was taking care of the funeral and stuff like that? And my brothers and my sister and me less than the other 3. So it's, yeah, coming together and doing what's right, something like that. Even though it's not so easy with her. It was not easy with her. Yeah, so that happened. And yeah, I'm still in that, just taking care and But the really good part is he's getting into he's a photographer, and he couldn't even think about it. He couldn't read any magazines or anything like that. So now he's back in having thoughts about how it will go after the treatment and what kind of career could he have, because I mean, the people don't wait for you to come back, because when they have events they need a photographer, and if he's good, that's it. So just that he's thinking about writing a lot, and so it's I see more of him coming back to life. That's really nice. Yep.
Thank
So
you. A little bit coming together with the topic. We were talking about purpose, and now
purpose.
he is rediscovering purpose after the disastrous breaking out of the illness. No, so that's. Did you see that in this way?
Yeah, it's kind of like, what's the purpose? I mean, he could just give in, but like, how can I express myself without having this schedule? So to be on the road almost every day. So how can I manage something and earn enough money? So he's thinking about selling books and his prints and things like that. So so he was more in the event thing, and now he might be more in the, yeah, just showing his art. Yeah, so I'll see. But it's about purpose, yeah. It's about, and as Ellie Drake says, purpose is a river. It's not static. It's kind of changing over
About
time.
you, we are talking about our purpose. What is yours? And then we give over to Beatrice. I am curious how yours is developing.
Give me a thought on this. So let's move on, and I come back to.
Would you like, Beatrice, to talk about your purpose? You are coming to talk with us about 4 or 5 years, and I saw already quite a development. I'm wondering how you see that.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder what other people see. Well, not last weekend, the weekend before, whatever, the weekend before this, yesterday, I went up to Seattle for a 3-day workshop with someone named Michael Rode. He's a theater maker and teacher, and I don't know if you would say an activist, but he's done a lot of work like using theater and using theater techniques to interact with government policies and communities and to create change in the community. So it's kind of action-oriented theatrical work. And the workshop was called Facilitating Trust. When I signed up, I didn't notice the word trust. I actually didn't notice the word trust until I came back and was reviewing notes and looking back at the website. I just, oh, it's a facilitation workshop, and I read the description and I was all excited about it. And then came back and realized it was about facilitating trust, and that made sense in context once I thought about the workshop. But and it was all about how to bring people together and build trust in a group of people and build coalition and how to deal with conflict or differences. And it was very active on your feet. It wasn't like a seminar where you take notes. We were doing all of these activities and jumping up and pairing up and in groups. And on the last day, this is a very long-winded answer, but I promise I'm getting to something here. On the last day, he shared about a project he's working on in Montana, where he talked to a bunch of leaders in the community to find out what was something that they felt like was the biggest concern in the state that maybe wasn't a political topic, but was maybe a few steps removed. And the answer was mental health. Montana has the highest rate of suicide in the country, and the lowest rate of providers and people who can support and help. But the biggest problem is that people don't talk about it. They're in Montana, they're really good at taking care of each other with physical needs. If a neighbor needs a wheelchair or someone needs a meal or whatever, people are coming together all the time. But if somebody is depressed or having mental health challenges, nobody talks about it. And then that person is just isolated and it gets really bad. And so he took a year and a half to talk to people and then develop this project that he goes to small communities. He goes to the high school. He does a workshop with the high school students, asking them what support feels like for them and what they feel like living in this community is like. Then he does a workshop with the adults who work with them and asks the same question, but he also shares what the students have shared about what they're saying they need. Then there's a show that is a mixture of performance scenes and kind of big group activities and interaction and all these things. And then the main event, not he doesn't say it's the main event to the people he's coming to, but the main event is the next morning where everybody and in the show is also the text that the students wrote that day. That's one of the scenes, which is this they write this kind of manifesto community care agreement document that says, we really need this from our adults in the community. And sometimes it's like, we really need to see our adults being sober, or we really need to feel like adults care about us for who we are and are not, whatever it is. The next morning, they have a coffee and conversation meeting with everyone who came to the show, and people came to the workshop, and that one is led by somebody in the community, an existing leader in the community, with the support of Michael's team. And that's where they start to brainstorm. Okay, well, what can we do? Or what's this organization we already have here? And why are we not talking to these people? Or who has a resource that the other person can use? And Michael said that he checks in afterwards, periodically to see how things are going. And there are things that have developed. Like some of the students will take their manifesto document and go to a town hall meeting and say, listen, this is important. We need to do this thing. Or they do some of the exercises from the show, at a football game, and people are starting to talk about it. Anyway, it's really incredible. And when he was sharing, I know this is, again, long-winded, but he was sharing about this project, and I was sitting there, and my whole body had this feeling like, this is what I want to do. This is the work I want to do. And I'm still trying to kind of unpack it because I don't think I want to move to Montana, and do this particular project. But there was something about using theater and art and creative methods to create actual change in community. And I think there's also something specific about working with young people and connecting the young people to the other to connecting intergenerationally on something that is like an important topic. And I think for me, it's always going to come back to grief, because I keep pretending like that's not my purpose, and it keeps coming back, and it's nothing like sets me on fire, excites me the same way. And nothing also feels as heavy, but um but it reminded me also when I was a teenager, and when my father died, I was part of a performance group of other teenagers who had all lost a parent. And we created a show together that we took to different assemblies of counselors and therapists or teachers or whatever whatever it was, like always gatherings of people who would benefit from learning about what our experience was, and our show was about our experience. And so it was an educational show, but it was also kind of therapy for us in it. and it was creating change. I don't know. So there's some thread here that I haven't, I'm still doing the weaving and the stitching and the trying to collage and figure out what it is. But anyway, I jumped up at a break at this workshop and I said to Michael, I said, this is the work I want to do. And he said, great, let's have a Zoom call sometime. So I need to follow up at some point and figure out what this really, I don't know, what potential there is here. But I was just really impressed with the way that he structured this thing that he's doing, and he's doing it, town by town, city by city, and creating change in a place that, and especially small towns that don't have a lot of engagement or support or chances to do things like this. Okay, that was my long answer for now.
That's good. What I'm hearing is a little bit what I think all we older people have lived in our lives, that we can use our gifts not only for our own purpose. I mean, you are dancing and you are playing music and whatever, but that then will be able, or we hope to bring it into service to other people. This is the topic. And you seem to be at this threshold already. I came there much later, but maybe the younger people, it's quicker nowadays. I don't know. Maybe. Good. Gertraud, have you found something in your idea of your purpose right now? Did it change?
Has everybody else shared their purpose, or not yet? I don't know. Once I had this, what's my mission, or what's my purpose, was being source of appreciation for people and organizations. And I think it's not that specific anymore. I want my presence to make a difference, to like through listening, through being there as a catalyst. So yeah, it's in this field.
That makes sense. That is what happens when we get older, that we have also more capacities in this field, I guess. But I don't know.
And I'm very intrigued by what you said, Beatrice. And I can really resonate with, I want to be there. I want to do that. Yeah.
Monia, your purpose. Yes, yeah.
Well, I was just trying to resonate, and one of my purposes, by getting older, is to have less stress, make things easier for everybody, and management is management of whatever turns up has become rather important. If we don't have an elevator, how to organize food shopping, etc., etc. What really struck me about Beatrice's contribution, why is Montana so different from all the other states? The suicide rate in New York is much less. I just Googled it, and they have a very high rate with guns in Montana, suicide rate. So that really puzzles me, that there is such a difference in the States. And considering New York City, it's yeah, maybe you are more distracted from your own. When you live in New York City, you are more distracted from being by yourself than in Montana. So that's a very, very fascinating topic as such. And up to now, suicide hasn't been a topic at all for me. So I'm wondering that you really, yeah, I'm impressed that you want to do that at your age already. And yeah, it's probably a good contribution to society. Mm. But I was really struck the way you intoned it. Actually, for you, it's just natural. Beatrice, it's natural to say it like this. But you said, where is it? Going up to Seattle or something like that. Where did I wrote it down? Because it was like singing it actually, going up to Seattle, and we never used it in German, going up to someplace. Yeah. So the English language is very, very musical.
Let's ask the musician, what's the difference in musicality between English and German? Victoria.
Well, actually, that's really interesting because my mother used to lament when at a certain point when Beatrice was in her college years, it seemed like all the boys she was dating, actually one of them is from Montana, so I'm curious to see what he would contribute in this conversation. But my mother used to decry what she called graduate student speech, which was, she said that all of the boys that Beatrice was dating, most of whom were in technology or math or the sciences, would talk like this, like robots, and they would never intone anything. And she would say, "So how are you doing today?" And they would say, "Oh, I'm fine." Yeah. And so I think they're the full range there. And there are people, yeah, I think Beatrice has a more musical approach to the language. I think it's more about personality than about language, of course. I mean, I know you sort of meant it facetiously anyway, but it's interesting about years ago, we went a number of times to the island of Catalina, which is off the coast of more or less like Los Angeles, between Los Angeles and San Diego, which was very famous back in the early who founded it? Hearst? No, not Hearst. Wrigley, the chewing gum man that then sponsored he created the baseball thing in Chicago and stuff. Anyway, long story short, it was a glamorous place for the Hollywood stars. Very exciting. People went there. It's only an hour from the mainland by boat, so it's very close, but it was like another world. And it was very renowned, and even my grandparents, that was like lore that my grandparents, who had no money at all, had actually gone for a little second honeymoon when they were quite elderly to Catalina. It was a big deal. And Beatrice and I went there over a number of years because there were, well, anyway, so I won't get into a shaggy dog story here, but the reason I wanted to bring it up was that this depression and alcoholism and suicide thing was something we found out from a young man who was Beatrice's age, who lived and worked there. He was born and bred there. And so he was working with the tourism industry all the time, but he said that if he hadn't gotten really involved in getting, and he hadn't gotten that good job, there are very few jobs on the island. He said he had gone through a phase when he was still very young of just just drinking all the time. And I said, why is that? And he said, because there aren't enough opportunities where, so, and of course, that's literally an island, but I was thinking about Montana and what Monio was saying, and the contrast between, when you have, like Beatrice wrote in the chat too, you have a very small population and a degree of isolation, and there are limited possibilities. And so you have to have a lot of sort of initiative to create a life for yourself in a world that's, because now that the rural lifestyle, it's only the Amish people that have sort of clung to the values of the, what I call the olden days, in terms of, and you're doing that, Heidi, I mean, the sense of one can have a whole life that is dedicated to the land and to nature and to farming and to producing your own crops. And but to do that, you have to have a lot of energy. And in our time nowadays, everybody's, just looking at a screen, and people don't have that connection. Because Montana is a really beautiful place, isn't it? You went there, Beatrice, right? Yeah. And I have a friend here whose father, late father, was from there, and he bought a huge amount of property to save it from people destroying it and developing it. But then the question is, how, if you're saving the land, but no one's living on the land? I mean, it becomes this fraught, because one of my closest friends, who also suffers from depression, seems like all my friends do, is uh, got involved in the Hollywood scene in LA. He's a composer and an arranger, and he got some enormous contracts, fabulous opportunities, and so he moved from New York City to LA, and couldn't figure out why he was so miserable, because he had many more professional opportunities than he did in New York. And one day he was driving his car to yet another engagement, and sitting in heavy traffic, and he suddenly realized, I'm going insane. I'm the only person I see every day and talk to, apart from these professional things, is myself. And I don't want to be by myself. And he literally cut all his ties at that moment, and very dramatically, and went back to New York, where he said, all I have to do is have enough wherewithal to put on some clothes, leave my apartment, go down and get in the subway, even if I'm going nowhere, and I'm surrounded by the hurly-burly of human life and activity, and I see people who are doing worse than I am. I see people who seem to be like me. I see people who are, way beyond me, the rich and famous, whatever. He said, but it's all of humanity. And he said, just the energy. Then I realized I'm not alone. I'm part of the human race. It's like the net thing we were talking about last time in the Frauen am Brunnen. Anyway, I've talked way too long. That was a shaggy dog thing. I'm sorry. But I think it does have to do with community. And that's what we have even here in this small setting.
I have another, and it seems to come together in Montana. It's like everything that everybody said is happening there or not happening there. And I have a history. Two of my siblings, they were in psychiatry. One died in the aftermath of the medication. And I think there's like conservatism, like what Beatrice said, that you practical support, yes, but emotional, psychological support, this doesn't exist also in this world. Like there's something wrong with you. If you have a broken leg, we can bring you some food. But if you have a broken life, like emotionally, then you cannot deal with it. And I know that my parents couldn't deal with it. So this was really, really hard for them. And some awful decisions made. And so I think if you don't have that kind of support and the other stuff on top, I mean, everything that you said there, and know where to go, and being, and people cannot deal with it, then you're in big trouble. In New York, it's more usual to have a therapist. So it's like lifestyle wise, but to be in this open land and you don't have that, you are not a farmer, or you don't have connections, and the family and the neighbors cannot deal with what's going on, you're pretty much screwed.
As we are an integral group, we can bind it back to the stages of development. You know, in Montana they are still traditional, and
Very, yeah.
also my parents, if you went to a psychologist, you would be considered mad, so nobody
Yeah.
would go on.
Yeah.
And then the green mindset came in, and then it became possible. And New York is a very green city, you know, so that's normal there. But there are also in other countries, there are regions where you still would be seen strangely if you told the people that you go to a psychologist or psychiatrist or something. So I think it's a developmental thing.
Yeah, if my father said, "Oh, you are crazy," it was not like casual, like we would say. When he said that, it was really like, you know, I didn't want to be crazy. I was very, you know, like very good girl. And whenever he said anything like that, it was really like almost like a diagnosis or something. I will send you to the mental hospital if you don't behave. So this is in my back still ongoing, like, yeah, this is crazy, or so. There was not a casual thing, that was a sentence.
Yeah, and this is the time of our generation, but the Beatrice generation probably doesn't have this strong conditioning on conventionalism. At least they know that something else exists. We didn't really dare to to get to know until a certain age, I would say. Yeah. Do you agree, Tina?
Yeah, and I think I certainly had a family member who was hospitalized. My mother was a psychiatric nurse as well. So really understanding that it's really the absence of support. I mean, there's certainly chemical reasons why some people might be more challenged than others, but
I think,
Frozen.
yeah, she's had
don't
she's
support people when they need.
internet problem.
You were frozen for
Mhm.
the last
I was
minute.
frozen?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
I love all of Mania's
Repeat the
lines.
last sentence.
okay. It's because of our communication. But I think I'd like to end on a more cheery note, as because we are actually highly resilient, and with support, a lot of good things can happen. And I think, Beatrice, one of the things that came to mind when you're talking about art and acting is that, I mean, you think back to Shakespeare and all sorts of plays, like plays were put on to often create social change. They would show the disparity between the rich and the poor, and the evil merchant, and these sort of things. So I think play and art has a lot. In my schooling, they're saying photography, for instance, Gertrude, is a very powerful mechanism for creating social change. So I'm just going to end with purpose. I'll sum up, I'm a bit of an activist, always have been. And I'm just finding my current activism is trying to be supportive of older adults facing problems. So that's my closing note.
I keep looking at Victoria, and I keep wondering whether her crown chakra is just spinning around and around.
Klasse.
Yeah. And I wonder, well, I'm really amazed, Gertrude, about your history. And you've come a long way. And you gave us so many beautiful meditations, and which you used yourself, of course, but so maybe this is one of the purposes we all share, to support each other here in this group. And
obviously beyond. Yeah. And obviously beyond.
And beyond, yeah.
When what Gina said, yeah.
Yeah. So that's my checkout, and yeah, I keep my fingers crossed for Beatrice for staging whatever she plans to stage, and I admire her energy. Looking at my grandchildren, I know it's just the energy level is, yeah, it differs, and at over 80, it's a lot less. So use it well, Beatrice, while you still have it.
Yeah, my attention goes to Beatrice as well, because I really wish you to find that thing that you where you really can share your gifts in a big way and have fun with it at the same time, even talking about grief. And I just have an impulse to reach out to you if you want to. So you can just contact me anytime if you want to, if you're open to. We have a grief process in WeFlow, and you might be interested in, because I think that could make a difference for other people as well. So if you would like to. Yeah, it's good to see you ladies again. And sorry for being late today and missing the last one. So I have to take the days like they come. And it's great to see you again.
Well, it's always I hope that I can manage to get up early more often so that I can join. So many times I've slept through this time slot. Or I'm at work already. I want to say, Gertrude, it was your arrival was perfect with the color of your shirt to bring in the blue. And it's actually very nice on my screen. I've got the four peach colors on the top and the two blue on the bottom. And it's very aesthetically pleasing. It's I'm glad that what I shared was so meaningful to all of you. It's really it's still percolating for me. And I'm excited to see what it turns into. But it's like what you were saying, Heidi, earlier today in this meeting of looking back and finding the red thread between things. That sometimes I mean, the unfolding of purpose, the unfolding of, yeah, the work. So it continues to unfold, and I'm sure, as we continue to meet. Oh, my mother joined another time. Um, as we continue to meet, we'll see what else I have to share, how things shift, and it's wonderful to hear all of your stories. Monia, I love your signs. That's new. That wasn't a thing before. You really developed a whole system with Zoom, and the note taking and the signs. Yeah. Anyway, thank you. You give me. Speaking of energy and inspiration, and thank you for being the group you are. And that's my checkout.
And Victoria wants to be upside down, obviously, and do her checkout lying down.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to
No.
Do it on there. Yeah.
No, I have another group that last time I came in late and she almost threw me out. It's speaking of psychologists, it's a group therapy thing, and so she's very strict. So I was trying to make her see that I'm here, but I ended up here instead of in her group, which I would prefer to be here. Okay, so that's my I just love all of you, and I'm grateful to have this community. And I would say that's my checkout, is just that just as this group is a reaffirmation to me of what community can mean, and continuity, that like you were saying, Heidi, to Beatrice, like you've actually seen her develop over a period of years, even though it's been relatively infrequent. It's that really moved me, because I thought I had lost track of time. I didn't realize, and I've been, ever since we met during the pandemic, so fortuitously through science and non-duality. And it's just, to me, that's the key to everything at the end of the day, I think, is community and being with like-minded people. And so blessings to everybody. I'm probably gonna, since I didn't manage that logging in very well, I'm probably gonna disappear now. But Heidi, you'll let us know when we meet again. And
Yeah.
safe travels, and lots of love to everybody, and blessings to everyone. And what was the other thing? Anyway, I'm sorry. I think there's still lots of people to check out. So love and blessings to all.
Bye-bye. I think more or less we have checked out all of us. Yeah. Gertrude, you want to say something else? Ciao, Victoria.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Good.
I was actually thinking of giving you a group instant change session, but not now. I have to prepare it a little bit, but maybe next time.
We can, when we meet again, at least a month, we will have an interval now, and then I'll let you know when I'm back. And have a good summer. Don't melt too much in the heat, but melt your heart and be happy. Ladies, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.